Great. Guys, welcome again to our YouTube video. I will take you through today on absorption costing versus marginal costing. All right, let me just share my screen. Then you don't have to see my face. You can see the subject we are talking about. Excellent stuff. Okay, in fact, I'm going to kill my little picture, then I can talk to you. Okay, I want to just give you a very concise distinction between these two concepts of costing. They are very important in procurement, and I'm going to talk to you from the procurement perspective so that you have it very clear in your minds. Okay, so let's get going. We're talking about absorption costing versus marginal costing. All right, and I need to pay my bills. Please, if you want to get in contact with us, our contact details are on the screen. Good. So, in summary, this is a summary of what the two models of costing that a supplier can cost their product look like. If they do absorption costing, it means that they include both direct, which is variable costing, direct costs and indirect costs into the piece price or the price of the item. All right. Marginal cost, on the other hand, is just costing based on the direct costs of a material of the piece of an item that you are procuring. This is the most what can I call it? This is the simplest way to explain the difference between the two, and I will tell you why this is important for you as a procurement practitioner to understand a little bit later. But let's carry on with the theory now. So, explaining in absorption costing, it says here that absorption costing absorbs indirect costs into direct costs related to a specific job, process, or output. So what the supplier does is they get the direct cost. Now, the direct costs are usually the cost of raw materials, okay? And then they burden the piece price with costs such as direct labor, direct materials, like I've said already, and overheads, which are indirect costs that are related to the manufacturing process, okay? So under this total absorption cost, all the overheads that a company incurs will be apportioned, okay, proportionately to the product that is being manufactured or that is being produced in the particular environment. That is what we call absorption costing. So it is very important for a buyer to understand when you get the price from a supplier, you need to understand how they costed that product. Did they do absorption costing, which means that they absorbed all the indirect items, all the indirect costs into the piece price or the product price that they are giving to you. You need to understand that. Now, let's shift quickly to marginal costing. So like I said to you, I gave you that picture. Marginal costing involves calculating how much it will cost to manufacture an additional unit once all of the fixed costs of the manufacturing have been taken into account. Now, what this means is when we are we're doing marginal costing, we are only taking into account the variable costs. We have sorted out the marginal, or rather the fixed costs, but then when we cost, when the supplier costs your product that they need to manufacture for you, they only consider the variable costs that are related mainly to the materials that are involved in producing that particular item. Now, why is this important? You might, if say you've got supplier A, all right, who is already running an operation, okay, from customer or client or buyer X. They're running an operation from buyer X, and buyer X is buying exactly the same items as you, buyer Y, is buying from this supplier A. So it means that when you found the Mr. Supplier A, Mr. Supplier had his overheads already catered for, covered in the product of buyer X. So then I decide to give him some business. I can negotiate with the supplier. Mr. Supplier A, you will cost me, you will marginally cost me. All right, you will do marginal costing for me. Why? Because all your fixed costs have already been taken into account based on the products of supply of buyer X. Buyer X is already paying for all your fixed costs, your rentals, your overheads, and blah, blah, blah. They've all been burdened. I'm giving you extra business. So calculate the cost only based on the variable cost that you're going to incur as a result of the business that I'm giving you. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you understand that, because as a buyer, you need to know whether your supplier is doing absorption costing or they're doing marginal costing. Now, where it becomes very tricky is, now I'm going to leave our contact details on the screen as I talk to you about the last portion of this little segment. Where it becomes extremely important is when to understand how the supplier is costing the product they are selling you, is whether you are procuring from an international supplier who is most likely going to take over local business from local suppliers, especially you buyers who are in a state-owned companies whose mandate is to create economic activities in the country. You must understand that some of the international suppliers will do marginal costing for the products that they're selling you. So those products will appear to be cheap. The reason being that your international supplier will burden all the overheads onto another product for another market. And the additional business you give them, they marginally cost it, which when you compare with your local supplier, who is probably only depending on your business, your local supplier will have overheads, including variable costs burdened onto the piece price. You might think that your local supplier is more expensive. Yes, he is more expensive, but the reason is because he's competing with an external supplier who has marginally costed their products to you. And if you do not have that understanding, you are going to stop the business of your local supplier. And guess what will happen? As soon as your local supplier goes under, the international supplier will give you the real price, the absorption price, which involves variable costing plus their fixed costs, and you will pay it. So that is the difference, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have learned something. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, if you want to register for SIPs or for any other products that Amila Training Center offers, our contact details are on the screen. Thank you for listening. Drop us a comment and let us know if there's anything that is bothering you on your way to becoming an MSIPs. We'll be able to explain it to you. All the best and bye-bye.